Hello guys and welcome to the channel. As you'll probably see, this is the very first video that we are posting. We have just created this channel because we reached the goal to create it on the subathon that we had, and you guys wanted it. I would love to produce more content for you, so let's go with this journey. Let's see where it takes us, and the types of videos that we're going to put out to the world are very kind of different. They'll affect gamers, and there'll be other kind of entertainment based types of videos, but this specifically is for the tier list for Hunt Showdown for traits. Okay, there's other games we're going to cover, but we'll get into those as we kind of take this journey together. And I am absolutely happy for you guys to be here, to watch it, to take part, comment and help build this channel. Okay. In terms of Hunt Showdown itself, how I got involved, one of my friends, he bought the game and he started playing it with one of his friends who is a streamer, and he invited me to come and play with them on the stream in question. So massive shout out to Kerty. Amazing streamer, guys. If you haven't checked Kerty out, please do. Major voice in the Hunt Showdown space. Absolutely love her for that. She's helped me a lot in those streams that we did. We were kind of going through the basics of it. I learned a lot, and it sent me on my journey to playing this game and getting, as I say, 400 hours, which I'll talk about later. And kind of my experience and stuff like that. So as I've gotten better at this game, as I've kind of moved through the ranks, this has kind of taken over my life, I suppose, this game, how much I've kind of thought about it, even when I'm not playing it. I love this game. I love this community. I do want to get more involved in it. So, consider subscribing. Also join us, as I say, on Twitch, Highlander Ross. The link will be in the description. And enjoy the video. So, in terms of the trait list that you see here, now I'm coming at it from a different point of view. I'm aware there's a lot of these types of tier lists on the YouTube space, but where I'm coming from is I'm kind of trying to cater to newer players, people just picking up the game, and giving information about things that I wish I knew when I started to play. Now, I'm not what I would consider an experienced player, but I think that the other tier lists, you've got these people that are thousands of hours, they're too far from being that new player to kind of give you the same advice as to what they would give being an experienced player. I'm closer to being a newer player. I still know what it felt like, because not even a year has passed. In terms of where I'm at, I'm just over 400 hours, and I'm sitting at a 5-star. So it's kind of like, if you watch that Post Malone video, he's at the same level. He mentioned, being a veteran, which, I mean, if you know this game, that is not a lot, but if you keep playing the game, you get to over 1,000 hours maybe. That is when you're starting to, everything's coming together, everything you've learned, and you start becoming the player that you want to be, I suppose. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm still in that space, but I'm experienced enough to know what it felt like those first few 100 hours, so that is my kind of point of this video. This tier list is specifically for that player who's coming in, trying this game for the first time. Okay, so anything that you can add in the comments, any advice, please do drop it below. So my choices, my tier list will reflect what I've just talked about in terms of staying alive, getting shots off as much as possible, and just generally being that kind of support player until you can learn and become better at the game and be more experienced and just, rise through the ranks, I suppose. So in terms of the traits that we have here, we do have a selection. I mean, we're not going to concentrate on the event traits that are being added. This is specifically purchasable traits for new hunters that you can add I'll have a lot of different explanations as to why I feel the way I feel, but we'll go through them together. Okay, so adrenaline. Now, what adrenaline does, when you enter critical health, you will receive a small stamina boost. Okay, so that costs 1 trait point. Okay, so it's very cheap. Of course, you know, why wouldn't you consider it? Well, one, it's not very useful in a lot of different types of situations, but it's very narrow in terms of what you can use it for, and there's other 1 trait point, you know, 1 point traits that are so much better than this. So this immediately F tier. One of the worst traits in the game, if not the worst. Now the next one, we've got Ambidextrous. Now Ambidextrous, this will become a theme, I suppose, in more weapon-based traits, because it comes down to what type of build that you are making. Okay, just to make that clear. There's some which will be higher and a few which will be lower. And Ambidextrous, in terms of what it is, quicker reloading of matched pairs and custom clip reloads for semi-auto pistol sets. So when you are rocking with a pair of dualies, some dual pistols, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to get more shots off, I suppose, is probably the best way to kind of describe it. However, it is 3 trait points. And not only that, what I would say is, don't use dualies as a new player. Of course, you're going to find a situation where you will probably use them. And even, you know, experienced players that I play with, they don't really use dualies. Crack, the new, again, I don't want to get in the trap of talking about the new traits in the events, but let's just say newer traits have come along that have made this more viable. But in terms of a purchasable trait, like, it's just not for me. You know, crack shot can come in and help you, but in terms of tightening a crosshair, but that's for, you know, specific weapons. But for pistols themselves and dualies, you know, it is quite a big crosshair. You know, you're going to get a lot of shots off, yes, but it's just not going to be very accurate. You're going to miss way more than you're going to hit. It's something that I wouldn't recommend specifically for new players. So for that reason, I'm going to chuck it. I'm going to chuck it in D. Yeah, it's a D. It's a D trait for me. Assailant. Okay, so that's next on the list. Assailant increases melee effectiveness of throwing knives and throwing axes. Okay, melee weapons found in the world can be thrown. So there's specifically an achievement that you can get from picking up a melee weapon in the world and killing a hunter with it. So it is useful, yes. Is it something that, again, I would recommend for a new player? Probably not. It costs 1 trait point, so that's the thing that's going for it. So if you're kind of going down that build of maybe, I don't know, you're having fun, no guns. So for Assailant, that is going in C tier. It's probably going to be pretty low. Well, we can change it as the time comes. But Assailant, it is more viable now, but in general, it's something just below mid-range for me. Next one, Beastface. Now, Beastface itself, you reduce the reaction range of animals. Okay, so that's the main point. It's animals, not the monsters, okay, that fight you. It's the animals. So you can be less detectable. Now, as I mentioned, sound is quite important in this game. Okay, sound is something that will easily give you away and help people set up ambushes for you, or, you know, if they notice you're around, they could all of a sudden direct their attention on you. So Beastface, it is quite useful. I would say it's quite useful. In terms of one of the top traits, probably not, but it's still viable. I would say it's still viable. It's 4 trait points. Is it worth 4? Maybe just. So for that reason, it's going to be. The next one is Bladeseer. Now, this is another 1 trait point, just a one cost. Bolts, arrows, throwing axes, throwing knives, throwing spears are highlighted in dark sight for better visibility. it applies also to the beetle view. Okay, so when you are in dark sight, everything will kind of have this like halo effect on it. You'll see it, everything you're thrown, so you don't lose it. And also when you're thrown at a beetle, the same thing. You'll see everything that you've thrown. Is it usable? Again, no, not for me. It's some people like it for the sake of maybe if you've got throwing knives and you lose a few of your throwing knives and you need to go to a toolbox, instead of maybe using a stamina shot and then getting something else in that slot, you just get a knife back, you know. So it's good for that, but in general, it's something that I'm not going to say for you to use. So for that reason, it is going in D. Now this is where we get interesting. Okay, the next one is Bloodless. Okay, now Bloodless is fantastic. Okay, Bloodless is great. This is one of my S tier traits. 100% going in S tier. I mean, you could say top of A based on the other traits that's going to share in the S tier kind of range, but this is bottom of S tier for me, I would say. Bleeding will not escalate from light to medium or intense bleeding. Now, it's become a little bit less viable, not by much. Now that the Dolch ammo, for bleed is not, you know, you can't get it off the rip. You can't get a Dolch and then add bleed to it. You can't do it. So it's still a trait that is absolutely a necessity for me. I use Bloodless all the time when I can. It's only 3 it's only 3 trait points. You're needing to get away from a situation. It'll give you a bit more time to control the bleeding, stop it, and then get back in the game. That's the main thing. So Bloodless, is it going to keep you alive? Absolutely. The next one is Bolt Thrower. Okay, so this is for when you use crossbows. Okay, it reduces the reload time for crossbows. Now, crossbows for me, it's not something that I would 100% use in you know, for a new player. However, what I will say is it's definitely worth trying, especially with the explosive bolts and you know, with the shotgun bolts as well, the shells, and this does help. Of course it does. It reduces the time for it. But again, weapon based, it's one of the lower weapon based traits, so it's 3 as well. I would say it shouldn't be 3, it should be maybe 2 trait points. So for that reason, it's going in C, below Assailant. Okay, let's do that. Let's below Assailant. Next one, Bulletgrubber. Recover unfired round when performing partial reloads. Now this costs 4 trait points. Again, this is probably a little bit too expensive for me, I would say. This is for some of your guns where you reload and you lose that round. It ends up on the ground. You know, so those guns that so for instance, like a Terminus or something like that, you know, you will lose that shell if you don't have Bulletgrubber. When that comes out the chamber, you grab it and you keep it. Okay, so is it worth 4? I wouldn't suggest that it is. It's handy for keeping bullets on you, yes, but I would say all in all, it's a B. I would say it's a B, probably lower on the B scale. I mean, top of C possibly, but again, I can't put that in the same level, I suppose, as something like Assailant. So that's why I'm putting it bottom of B. So for that reason, bottom of B. Now, next one. I like this one. This one, some people use it, some people don't, some people swear by it. I am one of these people that does swear by it. It reduces the damage from explosions by 50% and vastly reduces the duration of being fully blinded by a flash bomb. Now, the second part of that, I have never been blinded by a flash bomb in 400 hours of playing this game. Not once. I don't think I've had a flash bomb thrown at me. Okay, so just that part, unless they do something with it, the flash bombs, then ignore that part. Reduce the damage from explosions by 50%. Absolutely. And guess what, guys? 2 trait points. Okay, 2 trait points. It is going to protect you from, you know, explosions. Something like you know, you're going to spend a lot of time not knowing where throwables land, and this will play into another trait later, Dauntless. So these things can save you. There will be situations where you're just getting out of a blast radius and you die, and that is so frustrating. Again, I'm just trying to I'll repeat this, reduce that frustration level as a new player. This will do that. So 2 trait points. For that reason, it's an A. It's an A for me. If I'm filling up my trait list, I suppose, without picking up anything in the map, Bulwark is in there every time. Okay, so 2 trait points is worth it. Next one is Conduit. Okay, now Conduit, you basically get a health and stamina boost when your team picks up a clue or closes a rift. Okay, and when you're solo, investigating 1 clue gives the same map progress of investigating 2 clues. So it just speeds up finding the bounty in general. Okay, so as a team player, for that, it just gives you that little boost of stamina that you need for when you are running towards a bounty target, I suppose. And finding those clues just adds to it. Okay, it is good. I love this trait, I really do. 5 is probably a little bit too expensive. I'd put it down to 4. But in terms of a lot of people say just bring a stam shot, which is fine. You can do that. I bring a stam shot anyway, but I still try to run this if I can. Again, it's one of the lower based on if I was to fill up the full rack of traits. But this is still useful. I love it. It'll get you, to the bounty quicker, and it may even give you the top up. If you do top up later with a stam, then you'll have stamina to get out of there. So you leave it for the end. There's many different ways you can use it. So I love Conduit, and for that reason, it is an A tier for me in terms of new players. Okay, next one. This is what I'm talking about. Something that involves explosives, not knowing the blast radius of certain explosives, and trying to stay out of danger. Dauntless. For me, for a new player, don't do it. What Dauntless is, thrown explosives can be defused when interacting with them. So if they land at your feet, you can quickly defuse them so they don't explode. Okay, same with like chokes and things like that. I would not suggest running towards danger, if I'm being honest, as a new player. If you have Dauntless and you're running towards it, again, you're going to die more than you survive. So it's something that you could add later. A lot of experienced players love this trait, and I get why they do. I sometimes run it as well, but it's 1 trait point. That's the thing that's going for it. It's only one trait point. It is kind of worth it, but for a new player, stay away at this moment in time. It's not one that you're going to use. Next one, again, another one which is not for me, Decoy Supply. Okay, restocks all types of decoys from ammo traits. So all the different types of decoys that you have that create different sounds, or explosive decoys, I wouldn't suggest to use them anyway in a loadout if you are new. There are lots of people that I know that do use decoys, but it's not going to keep you alive. It's not going to help you shoot more bullets towards your target. It is another cost of 1 point, but I would suggest not even using decoys in the first place. It's useless for me. It's not good. I would not suggest going anywhere near decoys. So for that reason, Decoy Supply out the window. Next one, Determination. Now this one for me is probably again 1 point too expensive. Okay, stamina recovery starts sooner. So when you're running, of course, and you don't have stamina, your stamina bar goes down, and then you start to, breathe heavy, you slow down, and you're not getting away. If people have stamina and they're catching you, they are catching you. Okay, so this is quite good because again, it just helps you when you're recovering. Okay, it doesn't help all that time. Just when you're recovering, it just starts the timer sooner. So it is quite useful, not as useful as you would think it would be. It's more useful towards the end of a game if, again, at the beginning you have stamina, you're running stam shots. But for determination, it's something I'll kind of use now and again. If, you know, if I rank up in Bloodline and I don't have anything else that I can throw in there, I might chuck in determination. But in general, for me, it's useful, but not as useful as others. So it's gone bottom of B for me for that. 4, too much. This one. Now we're talking Doctor. Easy one. Absolutely easy. Doctor is an S tier trait. Doubles the amount of health restored by first aid kits. So when you are running first aid kits and you're using them, if you don't have something like Physician, you just need to run one. You're getting all your health back pretty much. 9 trait points. So what I would suggest, not running this in the beginning. Wait till you've got your hunter in and out of a match, and then adding it later. Okay. So, but this is very important. When you twin this with another trait that I'll talk about, it is amazing. This is very important. Is it going to keep you alive? Yes. You're going to get more health from it. Is it useful? Yes. Of course it is. It's 9 trait points. It's very important. So Doctor, 100% S tier, fantastic. Next one, fanning. Now in terms of fanning, this is some pistols have a faster rate of fire when using one-handed single action pistols. So when you have one pistol, kind of like they do in the cowboy films, you can fan it at the back and it shoots off more ammunition. It is very good. I love fanning, I do. However, it is weapon based, so again, it becomes part of this pattern that you're going to see here. It's more depending on what type of weapons that you use. It's 8 points as well. 8 points is a lot for me, if I'm being honest, for fanning, but it has gotten me out of a lot of tricky situations. So for that reason, it is going in B, but is a little bit lower just due to the cost. Higher rate of fire, of course. If you don't have something like a shotgun, this is going to help you at close range. It's simple as that. It's great. Now the newest one, the one that Post Malone was talking about. I love this. I do. It started off lower in terms of the trait points, but now it's up to 6. So it has slightly changed where I think it should be. Okay, but basically what it is, it Springfield and the sparks into give you a quicker fire rate, I suppose, because you'll have the bullets in between your fingers as you hold the gun. So after you fire a shot, you pick up another bullet, stick it in the chamber, you're cocked, ready to go to fire again. I love it. I absolutely loved it when it was first introduced. However, it's gone up to 6. Now, I love fast fingers. However, since the increase in the cost, 6 points. Springfields is great with bleeds, fantastic gun. Sparks, poison, great gun. You know, these are very good. Okay, and just to point out, they're non-pistol variants. That also affects. Okay, so for that reason, I'm going to put it bottom of A. Okay, I would have put it maybe mid to higher, but it was too expensive. Next one, Frontiersman. Carried tools can be used 1 extra time. So as an example, if you've got 1 spear, you get 2 of them. It's very useful. I love it. 5 trait points in terms of the cost. It just gives you a chance to use something more than you would normally. I love it. I tried to use Frontiersman. This is one of the ones that you're going to unlock later as you rank up. But it's still something that I try to run as much as possible. It's, again, probably the lower end of my kind of list that I go through, I suppose, if I've unlocked them all. It gives you more tools, and that is vital in this game. Anything extra that you have over the other hunters is always going to be beneficial for you. So for that reason, it's going in A, 100%. Probably, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. The next one, Gator Legs. Now, Gator Legs is a funny one because it's 3 trait points. It's too expensive. You walk and sprint faster in deep water, also makes less noise when crouched in water. Now, depending on what map you are playing on, it's going to be less viable, more viable. It's too expensive as well. It's not saved my life that I can think of. Yes, I've been killed in the water, but I can't think of a stage where I've gone, oh, I died there because I didn't have Gator Legs, you know. So for that reason, I would avoid it. Not, you know, 100%. If it's there to pick up, get it. But for that reason, it's going in D. Next one is Ghoul. Killing monsters restores a small amount of health. Now, part of your learning of the game, you're going to be fighting a lot of monsters in the game. So grunts, you know, hellhounds. And so when you kill these guys, it's going to restore health a little bit, which will, you know, if you go down a bar, you might be able to go back up a health bar. You don't need to use a med pack. You're going to encounter more. You will die by monsters eventually. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. Even the most experienced players, eventually at some point, like I was playing a few games last night, AI got me killed. But it was because I was in a fight against another hunter at the time, and then 4 grunts ran up behind me and started hitting me. I was dead. Okay, 4 of them. So this is what I mean. It's as a new player, it's quite useful. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in A. A tier. It is for me a trait that you should be using while learning the game. Greyhound. Next one, sprint at full speed for a longer duration, and this costs 5. Okay, so this is handy if you have, you know, you've got the bounty and you're trying to get out of there, or getting to a compound before they have the chance to escape. It's going to help you in kind of a few situations, but not as many as you would kind of want. You see that, you're like, oh, sprint at full speed for a longer duration. But if you've got stam shots and things like that, or conduit, you know, it's not going to affect you as much. It's going to help you, as I say, escape or pursue. So for that reason, I'm going to chuck it in B tier. Okay. Actually, no, B tier's fine. B tier's fine. I'll probably put it. Yeah. Let's chuck it in there. Actually, you know what? No, I'll put it a little bit higher. I might change it. Okay, but 5 trait points. Next one, Hornskin. This is another one I'm going to say avoid. Okay, for me, Hornskin is not. It's not the worst trait in the game, but it's kind of nearly is. Reduce the damage taken from blunt damage by 25%. Useful when fighting armoreds and group of regular grunts. So as you're getting hit by these blunt force types, the damage, you're going to take 20. It's only 25%. Yes, it's going to help you because you're going to encounter and probably fight against grunts more while you're learning the game. It might save you a few times, but there's so many more traits, so many more that's going to keep you alive. This is not that viable, and some people run baseball bats, but I've been killed by a baseball bat maybe twice, 3 times. I can definitely count on one hand, and it costs 3. I don't know why this costs 3 trait points. It doesn't make any sense to me. It should be 1. So for that reason, F tier, don't use it. It's not useful. Next one, 100 hands. So I like the hunting bow. Okay, is it something I would suggest a new player uses? I actually think yes. It's a good bow. It's a good weapon to learn because it's silent. Well, not exactly silent. For instance, as I get more experienced, I can hear when people are. If someone's around a corner and they're drawing their bow, I can hear that and go, "There's someone there." Someone new player will not catch that. They will not catch that sound. So what it does is increases the damage of a hunting bow and reduces the sway while at full draw. Allows the use of arrows in melee attacks. So as you've got it, you can use the melee button to actually jam an arrow in the face or whatever. And it only costs 2 points as well. So if you're running a bow, I would say this is a necessity, 100%. I like it. In terms of a new player though, it's a C. It's a C. There's so many more that, again, it's weapon related, but it's one of the lower weapon related. As you get more experience though, this will probably shoot up your list, okay? Because bows are great. I like bows. But at the moment, for a new player, right in the middle, or lower middle. Next one, Iron Eye. Remain in iron sights between shots when firing bolt action, lever action, and pump action weapons. Okay, so that means you're keeping your eye down the sights while the gun is reloading. So keeping your eye on the ball, it increases the fire rate because you're still looking down, and you can just pull the trigger again quicker. Now, while you're kind of learning these types of weapons, having this on your build, again weapon related, it is good. I would suggest having it. It's 3 trait points in terms of the cost. I would put it lower A. It's gonna get more bullets down the chamber, out of your gun. It's good. Next one, Kiteskin. Now, Kiteskin for me, for a new player, is not that viable. Now, what it does significantly reduces fall damage. Okay, 1 trait point. Okay, 1. Now I'm going to stick this a fight between 2. Okay, the reason being, it costs 1. Yes, more experienced players will use this, but they've got the map knowledge to know where to fall. You know, if I jump from this window ledge to this roof, I won't die. If I jump from this ladder down to the floor, I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna lose a lot of health. New players don't have that knowledge, so this will not benefit. You're not going to be that person that's going to go, you know what, I'm going to try and flank by using that maneuver that I did last time by jumping over there. Yes, I'll take fall damage, but not much. You know what I mean? It's all map related. So for that reason, I hate to do this. Top of C. I was going to put bottom of B, but no, bottom of B. Bottom of B. I'm going to put bottom of B. Forgive me. Okay, 1 trait point. What can I say? Levering. Faster rate of fire from the hip. Okay. When using lever action rifles. So as you have it on the hip, your Winfields, anything with a lever, Makos, Centennials, some of them are better than others in terms of using levering, but it gives you a faster rate of fire. I love, for instance, the Frontier C, the silenced, using levering with that and fire ammunition. I love it. Getting around a corner, just keep my finger on the trigger, get as many bullets down my target as possible. 7 points. It's a bit expensive. It wasn't as much. It has gone up. For levering, I would say it's a B trait. Again, it goes the same with like fanning. It's the same. But I love levering. I've got a soft spot for it. If you're using a Winfield and you pick up levering, just trust me, you're going to love it. It's great. And as soon as someone hears you have levering, if they hear you with that fire rate, they're going to tell their teammates they're not going to like it. So it's a weapon based. So you know what that means? B. Okay. Lightfoot. Vault, fall, climb ladders silently. Okay. Also reduces the sound of walking through noise traps. And if you're a solo, crouch walk without making any noise at all. Okay, so that is very useful. Now, again, this kind of falls into map knowledge for me as well, I would suggest, because as a new player, I wouldn't suggest you be that guy who's like trying to sneak in because you don't know the maps. You know, yes, you'll be silent, but you're not going to be the guy who's, I'm going in first, I'll go in silently, you guys cover me, you just fire your weapons into the windows or whatever. Because you don't know where you're going in the compounds. So for that reason, normally I put a little bit higher, but I'm going to put it in B. Kind of same as like Greyhound. It's something that is okay, but it's 5 trait points. It's, I don't know. I might put it a little bit lower, but in terms of tier list, B. Okay. Next one, Magpie. No, I like Magpie. You receive 3 effects from picking up a bounty token: antidote, stamina, and regen. Okay, so you'll get that little boost. It's better for solo players because your dark sight boost goes from 5 to 10 seconds, but as a solo player, it's only going to affect you anyway. If you're using Magpie, you have to pick up the bounty token, you know, as well. So whereas with Conduit, you don't. So it costs 1 point. like, I really like it. I really like it. But in the early stages, I would suggest that there is other traits that are a bit better, I suppose. I've just noticed I've got Beastface there. I should probably move that down a wee bit. I'll put that under fanning. So Magpie, I like it, but again, there's if you're solo, it's a must. I think if you're a solo, you have to use it. But as in a team, you know, yeah. So B for team, S for solo, lower S for solo. Martialist. Now Martialist for me, I don't use a katana. Okay. Again, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've been killed by a katana. Allows a katana to be sheathed, which enables a first strike attack that does extra damage. So when it's sheathed, they strike and they will get that damage first. It's quite quick. It's 2 points. I mean, is it worth it? 2 points? But yeah, but this is so circumstantial, you know. I don't think as a new player you'd be the person hiding in a corner waiting for someone to come because you don't know where they're coming from. The sound's going to be not as important. Well, it is important, but for you as a new player, you need to learn more about the sound. It might get you out of a few tricky situations, but in general, I would suggest not using it and not using the katana in the first place. So for that reason, D. It's going to D. It's not F. I can't put it in F. I can't do it. Next one, Mithridatist or Mithridatist. I don't even know how you say it. The group that I play with, Mythical Dentist. Mythical Dentist. Drastically reduces the time needed to recover from poisoning. Now, I only really run poison if I have, you know, like a hand crossbow, and I might run some antidote shots as well. If I don't do that, then Mithridatist is just not, I don't know. It's not the it's a trait that has changed over time, but from what it is in its current state, it's just not. It's 3 points. You know, recovering from poison, yes, it's good. Again, it's another one just like Conduit with stamina, just run an antidote shot. But for me, poison itself has killed me only really when I'm outnumbered and I don't have time to, you know, get out of there, and then people are chasing me. So for that reason, it's not, I'm not going to say it's bad trait. I'm not saying that at all. But for me, I'm going to say top of C. Top of C. Bottom of B, top of C. Packmule. Receive an additional tool or consumable when looting dead enemy hunters or opening toolboxes. So is it good? Of course it is. What did I say earlier? Having more, you know, more in your arsenal than any other hunters that you're fighting against, always a benefit. It's 4 trait points. Is that too expensive? Maybe. It does help again when you're looting a hunter at the end of a game specifically, or if you're going to have another gunfight, you hear another team coming in, you've used all your throwables, you've killed a team, you can loot them, you get double the things, you know, you get double the stuff, and that will help you in that next fight. Okay, so it's not going to keep you alive, but I still like it. So for that reason, it's going to probably be bottom of A, I think. Necromancer. Now, I absolutely love Necromancer. Now, the only problem is that it's a burn trait now. So, in terms of what it is, it allows you to, if you're a solo player and you die, you have the ability to get back up and try again. Now, if you have teammates, you also have the ability to revive your down teammates a distance of, I think it's 25 meters. If it's not, I'll put something in the above my head. But you have to be in dark sight, you have to be in 25 meters, and you can revive your teammates. And if you're solo, you can revive yourself. Now, it used to be not a burn trait, it is now. So when you use it, it's gone. Okay, so you can only do it once if you're a solo, and unless you pick it up in the map when you're in a team. then you're not going to be using it again after reviving one of your mates. So for 4 trait points as well, I would suggest putting that up to 5. I think that's one of the traits that needs to go up. But so for that reason, Necro S tier every single time. I love it. Above Doctor. A must. Absolute must. I love Necromancer. Next one is Pain Sense. Now again, this is another trait that has kind of evolved. I know a lot of them have, but this more recently, it's probably a trait that has changed a lot in the shortest period of time. You can see nearby bleeding, poisoned, and burning hunters while in dark sight. Also applies to the beetle view. Again, so just like the other kind of sight based, if you're in a beetle, you can also see these effects. Okay, so if you shoot someone and you make them bleed and they're running, you know, in a corner to maybe try and bandage themselves, you will see them in dark sight. Tell one of your teammates or yourself, you can get a wall bang, they're dead. Okay, same with being poisoned. Okay, if you poison someone, they run away, they're hiding somewhere, waiting for that poison to go, you can see them in dark sight, wall bang, dead. That's kind of where we're going with it. Also helps, again, burning hunters as well. Same sort of thing. Okay, anyone that has these types of effects on them, you get to see them, you know where they are in dark sight. Tell your teammates, they can get them, or you come out of dark sight and try yourself with levering or something like that. Just it is 3 trait points. Again, I think that's pretty good. But what I would say is you're not going to rely on it much as a new player, because you're in dark sight. It's again, you're playing support a lot, but you kind of want to you're not going to be as much doing that type of work as a new player. You're not going to be looking for all these oh, this person's poisoned, this person's bleeding. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in C, kind of lower C. Well, maybe lower C, just depending on what else goes in there. So for that reason, C. Next one, Physician, S tier. S tier all day. Physician, reduce the time needed for bandage. If you pair this with Doctor and another trait which we'll talking about later, it is chef's kiss. Okay, so 5 trait points, again, probably something that's about the right price. It reduces the time you need to finish that medical bandage that you're applying. Okay, very, very, very handy in tight situations where you need that speed to prepare for someone maybe trying to rush you. This is going to help. Okay, so Physician, again, one of those traits that unlocks it around about the mid of the bloodline levels and stuff, so you're not going to get it at the beginning, but 100% use it. S tier every time. Okay, next one, Pitcher, increase the throwing range for all items using the aim helper. Now when they talk about the aim helper, that is, you see the trajectory of what you're going to be throwing. Okay, that just extends that as a pitcher. It is, I believe, is it 4 trait points? It used to be a bit more expensive, so that's something that I don't suggest using, simply because, yes, I mean, it will keep you a bit further out of danger, but ultimately you're not going to have this as much. There's going to be other traits that you're going to use, so the action that you're going to be using to throw is going to be the generic action, the normal distance. So this is kind of like, if you find it, yes, use it, but it's just not something that's going to keep you alive. It's not something that's going to damage the opposition more. So for that reason, I would suggest Pitcher being in D for that reason. And another one, which that I'm not going to suggest you using, it is 1 trait point, and that is Poacher. Okay, and that is placing and disarming traps quietly. Okay, now the reason, one, obviously 1 is fine. Placing the traps, you're only really doing that as a new player, I would suggest, if you're preparing a compound before a team approaches you. Okay, disarming traps, on the other hand, is a bit better, but as I suggested with the Lightfoot, I don't suggest being that person that goes into the compound first, you know, and relies on you being sneaky, I suppose. So the disarming part is not for new players for me, and for that reason I'm going to put it in D tier. Okay, but there's way better traits to use. Quartermaster. Now we're getting into the kind of zone where this is probably the, if I'm looking to fill all my spaces, this is the last one that I get. Quartermaster can equip a medium slot weapon in addition to a large slot weapon. So generic is large and a small, or 2 mediums. Okay, so it costs 6 points. That's probably fair, I think, as well. Is it going to keep you alive? No. But if you run something like a shotgun, then it's good to have. So for instance, when I run a shotgun, I try to run an Obress, so like a mini Mosin. There's, again, a lot of different builds you can use with it, especially with a bow. You know, if you have a bow, then you can use a full length weapon, and it's handy that way. So I would suggest that it's viable, but it's going to be one of the last traits that are important that you're going to use. So for that reason, B. Okay. Next one, resilience. Now, this is the best trait in the game for me. Your hunter is revived with up to full health. I cannot emphasize enough how many times this has saved me. When you are dropped, when you are killed, or when you're downed, sorry, you lose a health bar, okay? So when you're getting up, there might be a chance that someone's still looking at that body, they're body watching. I've had countless times now when I have been downed, I've been revived, I don't have full health, I die immediately again, okay? Now, depending on the weapon, of course, and the distance and where they shoot you, of course, that doesn't matter. But this trait here, 3 points, is going to keep you alive, yes. And it's going to stop you from dying multiple times. So for that reason, and the cost as well, I mean, it's I don't know what else to say. It's brilliant. And my opinion, the best trait in the game. Next one, again, another fantastic trait, Salveskin. I love Salveskin. Reduces fire damage and burn speed even when downed. Okay, so when you're downed, of course, you'll probably be aware that they can burn the bodies, and you slowly see your bars disappearing as that fire burns it. This will save your life, 100%. I don't know how many times people run fire more than they do poison. So, and the environment will produce times when you do have to put out a fire on yourself. So that will keep you alive, 100%. It's 3 trait points, guys. It's 3. You have to use this. Salveskin is fantastic. S tier. S tier every single time. In fact, you know what? I'll put it just below Necro. I love Salveskin. I was going to put it above Necro, but it's S tier regardless. Scopesmith. Remain in scope view after firing a shot while using any weapon with a scope. So exactly the same, you know, as an iron sight. You want to get as much ammunition firing out of your gun towards your target. But with snipers, or with a scope anyway, depending on what weapon you're using, it's going to either be effective or not. It's 2 trait points. It's okay. It is weapon specific. I wouldn't suggest using scope weapons too much while you're learning the game. I just don't like the style of play that involves using scopes and sitting in bushes and stealth and all that. I'm not saying I haven't done it, you know, of course, but it's just, unless, you know, you're running the event, trying to get event points and things like that, it's still viable. If you have a scope, I would say yes, definitely use it, but it's just not something, again, it's not going to keep you alive. It's just not something that you're going to see a lot. So for that reason, I'm going to say C tier. 2 trait points, as I say. Serpent, next one. Using dark sight, interact with nearby clues, rifts, banishable targets, and abandon bounty from a safe distance, 25 meters. However, if you're solo, 50 meters. What that means is, in dark sight, you can take clues from a distance if there's something on there that you don't like, or if you see a red, if the clue is burning red, you know there's another hunter in the area. Just do it from a distance. Be safe. Look after yourself. Don't die. You know, lots of grunts, hell, you know, there's so many things that could be there blocking it safely, or it could be out in the open or up, you know, on a higher vantage point. You could get sniped from a mile away. So Serpent is pretty good. 4 trait points is probably fair. However, again, it's not one of my top, I would suggest, but I would still put it in A. Still put it in A tier. I think it's still can be used, and it's just a trait that, you know, it's going to keep you safe, but there's more that you should be going for rather than Serpent. But it's still good. It's one of the, again, the last traits. If you're not picking up any of the traits on the map, the Serpent is one of the last ones that I take. Next one is Silent Killer. Now, reduces the sound you make while performing melee attacks. Again, just as with Lightfoot, Poacher, when you are starting out in the game, if you want to go for that type of build where you are going to be the guy running in, trying to kill as many people as possible, melee style, go for it. But so many people are running shotguns, you know, different types of ammunition. You're not going to run and do, you know, drop a whole team by yourself. It's 3 points. It's one of those that I kind of fight myself with, but suggesting it for a newer player is probably out the question for me. However, what I will say, it's still viable if you're going for a certain type of build. So for that reason, and that reason alone, I am going to suggest that it is bottom of B. Next one is Steady Aim. Now, Steady Aim, weapon sway gradually lessens when you're looking through a scope or an aperture sight. Now, one trap that I did fall into as a new player was thinking that I would rely more on aperture sights. I'm not suggesting you don't use them, but just beware that the aim through an aperture sight is not that great, okay? But the fact that you can, you know, you can't get rid of a scope. It's not like a scope that you can throw up and down. So that gives it a benefit. But you're looking through an aperture, it's not as good. However, it does go well with a scope, of course, with a sniper setup. And again, you're looking through when you're looking through a sight, I would suggest with a sniper, it's more than likely you're going to be aiming down the sights more anyway. So having this is pretty good. It's pretty good. So for that reason, it's 2 trait points. I mean, it's all right. I'm gonna put it in C. Vigilant. Okay, Vigilant. Nearby traps and active beetles are highlighted in dark sight. Okay, so any beetles in the sky. This also applies to you when you are in beetle view yourself. Now, the good thing about it, 1 trait point, you can see everything. It shows you a pattern of where people are putting these types of traps. Okay, people like to put traps in groups as well. The higher you go, it's not just one guarding a door. So it's very useful. It's very cheap. So use it. 100% use it. I would suggest that this is probably, it's an A. It's an A for me, I think. It's something I love. Next one is Vigor. And in terms of Vigor, while in dark sight, doubles the rate of which health and stamina are regenerating. It's 3 trait points, which is about right. Now, there's not going to be many scenarios I would suggest in this that you're going to use this, because again, I would only suggest using this if you're kind of in a sticky situation, but you have cover, of course. Now that's going to happen. Yes, it will. But there's so many more traits that are going to keep you alive longer than Vigor. Other people have used it that I do know, and they do get a benefit from it, but it's just not as much as you would think. So for that reason, it's going D. Vulture. Now, Vulture, looting a dead enemy hunter will always reward you with hunt dollars. Now, I use this mainly for bounty clash. Okay, so if I'm getting a free hunter, I will take off what's already on the hunter and add Vulture. It just gets you money, gets you more money. It's 2 trait points. I like it. It's pretty good. It's not exactly, you know, a trait that you're going to run all the time, specifically because, again, there's a million traits that are so much better than this. But in Bounty Clash, I think you have to have it, because if you survive, you're going to be running a lot. You know, you're going to be looting a lot of players. So for that reason, I kind of flip between C, top of C, B, but I'm gonna say C. I'm gonna say C. Next one, Whispersmith, I believe. Let me just check. Yes, Whispersmith. Reduces noise when selecting equipment. Again, this is another trait that it doesn't help. It's 1 trait point. You're flipping between equipment. The noise reduction is minimal. You're not going to notice all these kind of things in the lower end. So for that reason, it's bottom of D for me. I would avoid it. It's not something I would use. Bottom of D, I think I'm happy with that. Not the very bottom, but the bottom, near the bottom for sure. Next one is Witness. While in dark sight, dead hunters and monsters are visible, and health restoration is marginally increased when close. Also highlighted in Beetle View. So basically, after gunfights, or you're going to a compound where there has been gunfights, you can see the dead bodies and you can loot them if they're not burned out, of course. And you can see dead monsters as well. There's a difference between the visuals and stuff like that. Now, if you are close to these bodies, then your health restoration gets a little bump. But if you're a new player, that's not something that I think is going to benefit you. That for me, that part of it is not as, you know, it's not going to save your life. It's not going to help you, because when you're in dark sight, you're not going to be doing that, you know, as you're getting shot at. You know what I'm saying? So it's 5 trait points. That's too expensive for me. 5. I put it out at 4. But in terms of Witness, it has its uses. 100%. You know, it gets you more money. So that's what I like about it. It is good. I like it. So for that reason, it's going in A. Bottom of A. For that first part. The second part, no. It doesn't really help. And, oh, yeah, before I mentioned, just like the other site-based, if you're in Beetle View, you can, you know, get that helicopter view of a space, and you can see the dead hunters to find them if you can't find them in the immediate vicinity. So it is pretty useful. And last but not least, I should have done this a few traits ago, but it appeared near the end of my list. That is Surefoot. Okay, again, this is one of the newer ones. It was an event trait. It became purchasable. In terms of where that lands, it is 4 trait points. I love it. I absolutely love Surefoot. And this goes with what I was talking about earlier. You pair that with Doctor and Physician, you are the survivability just goes flying through the roof. Basically what it does, it allows you to have primed throwables running while you can run while they're primed. Also while you're healing, okay, while you're using any shots on yourself, stam shots, etc., antidote, vitality shots, and while you're crouching, you move faster. Okay, again, it's a trait that's changed a little bit over time, but this trait is fantastic. I absolutely love it. Is it a top 15? Is it a top 10 trait? Yes, 100%. So for that reason, survivability, yes, is A tier. Is A tier. I love this trait. I absolutely love it. Okay. In terms of The other ones that you see at the bottom, those are traits that you will find in the game, or they're event based. Like, you do want traits like Death Cheat. I love Death Cheat. You keep your hunter if they die. Shadow, that means the monsters in the game, they can't detect you. Shadow Leap, you know, you can jump to different areas, into monsters' bodies, etc. There's a few other traits that you can find, but this is specifically for purchasable traits in the game. Okay, so you can see that the kind of pattern here, I suppose. Look at what's on the top. That's going to keep you alive. And look, as you go further down, it starts to get more weapon based, more situational based, and then it gets into other types of traits where you are going to be more experienced to use it, or it's something that you're not going to benefit from as a new player. So these specifically are how I would run it. So pause the video, look at the top traits, and that is the order that you should be I suppose using them. The only difference, I suppose, is being something like the fast fingers, where you need to have the gun specifically to benefit from it. But I absolutely love that trait as well. I absolutely love it. Springfield, great gun. Sparks, great gun. Why wouldn't you want to use those guns anyway? So they're fantastic. So yeah, in terms of any future trait lists, we'll go through the weapons, we'll go through the consumables and the tools. We'll probably do it by weapon type, but this is the most important for me because you're going to use the traits on all the hunters. Okay, so guys, please use this as a new player. If you've got anything to add, any suggestions, any comments, please do not forget to add that. There's going to be people viewing this who've probably never even picked up the game but are looking into it. These are the people that I want to access. These are the people that I want to bring into the game to grow this community. I love Hunt Showdown. I love the Hunt Showdown community, and I would love to become more active in it. So this is kind of the gateway into this game that I want people to have. In terms of the future videos, in terms of the order that I'm going to do them in, I'm not 100% sure. It probably will be tools and consumables next, but we will see. Okay. Well guys, thank you so much for watching the video. These types of videos are going to come out gradually. You know, we're going to record them live while we're streaming on Twitch as well. You may get a little bit of gameplay down the line, but at the beginning, please do support this channel. Click on subscribe, the notification bell. Make sure you have all the news when a new video does drop. Follow us on Twitch, Highlander Ross. Join us on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays and Saturdays. We've got a lot of content coming up with different games like Valorant as well, Marvel Rivals, Fortnite. There's different games that we love in this community and we like to play together. So it's a space that I do want to, you know, help newer players getting into these games. I also want to do videos on things that affect gamers in general. So I have a special about tinnitus, for instance, coming up. I suffer from tinnitus, and as a gamer, that's going to affect us a lot, you know, with headphones and things like that. That's why I wear these bone conductor headphones as well. So a lot of information, a lot of new videos coming. Please share this video far and wide as much as possible. Thank you so much to everyone who has helped me get to this position, whether you have watched me for the years that I've streamed, whether you've helped me make this video in particular, whether you've played games with me, all these people that are, you know, so vital to me being here. It means the world to me that this thing exists. Okay, so thank you so much. Let's be on this Twitch and YouTube journey together. Support as much as you can, share as much as you can, and I'll see you down the road. Thank you very much, guys.